Now, why? What is so special about this ayatul kursi? It is but one ayah. It is 1/3 of a page. And there are so many other verses of the Quran. The Quran has over 6,000 something verses. Why does this verse stand out so much? The response is very simple. It is because the verse deals with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His names and attributes. And always the most majestic verses and the most blessed verses in the Quran are the verses that talk about Allah Azza wa Jal. Why? Because nothing is more grandiose to discuss, more majestic to discuss, more beautiful to discuss than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no topic that is more worthy of being talked about and praised other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the best verses in the Quran are those verses that praise Allah. And the best surah in the Quran is the surah that is nothing but a praise and description of Allah, and that is Surah Al-Ikhlas. The Prophet ﷺ said, who amongst you would want to read 1/3 of the Quran every night? The Sahaba said, who can manage this, O Messenger of Allah? Who can read 10 juz a night? So he said, I will tell you a surah, if you read it you will get 1/3 of the Quran. That is Surah Al-Ikhlas. Why is Surah Al-Ikhlas, why is ayatul kursi so blessed and holy? Because the content of these ayat and surahs is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the names and attributes of Allah Jalla Jalaluhu. And very briefly, in just 4 or 5 minutes, I'm going to quickly go over ayatul kursi. Otherwise, of course, the real tafsir of ayatul kursi will take us many hours, but we should know some basic meanings of this great ayah. Allah says, Allahu la ilaha illahu al-hayyul qayyum. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, Allahu la ilaha illahu. There is nothing we will submit to, we will obey, we will sacrifice for other than Allah. La ilaha illahu. He is al-hayy al-qayyum. Al-hayy, the one who has perfect hayat, life. So Allah Azza wa Jal is al-hayy because not only does He have life, He has perfect life and He gives life. And then once we are alive, we need food, we need water, we need rest, we need sleep. And every life is followed by death, except for al-hayy. Al-hayy does not need anything. Al-hayy, the one who is self-subsisting. Al-hayy, He does not get tired. That's why Allah says, لَا تَأْخُذُهُ سِنَةٌ وَلَا نَوْمٌ. Sina means He gets drowsy, just falling asleep like this is a sina. And naum means to go asleep. So the perfection of Allah's hayat is that He doesn't even get tired. He doesn't need to eat and drink. So Allah Azza wa Jal is al-hayy in Himself, and He's al-qayyum for the rest of the creation, that He takes care of the creation. لَا تَأْخُذُهُ سِنَةٌ وَلَا نَوْمٌ. We explained, this is the perfection. If Allah Azza wa Jal does not even get tired, He does not even get sleepy, then He doesn't need food, He doesn't need anything. Allah is al-ghani, He is free of any needs. لَا تَأْخُذُهُ سِنَةٌ وَلَا نَوْمٌ لَهُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. Every other being besides Him belongs to Him. Every other being belongs to Allah. Lahu, complete ownership. And complete ownership means nothing happens in this world except that Allah has willed it, except that Allah knows about it, except that Allah has created it. Lahu ma fi samawati wa ma fil ard. The entire creations in the heavens and earth, they belong to Allah Azza wa Jal. له ما في السماء. Such is His perfection. He says, مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَشْفَعُ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. It's a rhetorical question. It's a rhetorical question that is meant to indicate His ultimate power. Who can possibly even intercede? You see, the least form of power is intercession. This is the least form of power. Higher than this you control, higher than this you create, higher than this you are in charge. Shafa'a means you go to the owner. This is the least form. And you beg the owner, please can you hire my nephew? Please can you give me this and that? This is shafa'ah, right? Allah is saying, you cannot even ask shafa'ah, much less actually do something, except if Allah allows it. مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَشْفَعُ. And this is the least form of power, right? As we said, higher than this is the one that you go to. He owns, for example, the company, the boss of the company, right? If you know him, you will go and get shafa'ah from him. That I have a friend, can you hire him? Can you give me a pay raise? This is shafa'ah, right? Allah is saying you cannot even ask shafa'ah from Him unless He allows you to do so. مَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَشْفَعْ عِنْدَهُ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ. Allah knows what is in front of them and behind them. Of course, there's a clear meaning here. Allah knows what is around us. But there's a more profound meaning. Allah knows what is in front of them, meaning what will happen to them in the future, meaning the akhirah. And what is behind them, meaning what they have done, that everybody else thinks is hidden. Allah knows what's going to happen tomorrow. يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ. Allah knows what's going to happen in the next life. وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ. Allah knows what you did in hidden and secret. Allah knows when nobody was looking, when everybody thought that you're all alone. Allah knows what happened. يَعْلَمُ مَا بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَمَا خَلْفَهُمْ وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. So Allah knows everything about you. As for you and as for the creation, they know nothing. وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ. بِشَيْءٍ هذه نكرة في سياق النفي. Basically it means this is a complete, if you like, absence of knowledge. وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ. They have nothing of Allah's knowledge. The rest of the creation do not share Allah's knowledge except if Allah tells them. إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. As Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. You have only been given a small amount of knowledge. As Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Above everybody of some knowledge, there is Al-Alim, who has all knowledge. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying, even in the attribute of knowledge, and as we say, knowledge is power, right? Knowledge is the basis of everything. When you know, then you can create, you can judge, you can rule. Knowledge is the basis of power. So Allah says, my knowledge is complete. Your knowledge is nothing unless I give you a little. وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ عِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. His kursi. Scholars have differed what is the kursi, and Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best, but there appears to be a creation of Allah that is different than the arsh, that is different than the throne. Allah mentions two things in the Quran, the arsh and the kursi. Allah mentions the arsh in 7 verses, actually not 7, 11 verses. And Allah mentions the kursi in 1 verse. This is the only verse in the Quran that Allah mentions the kursi. And we don't know much about this other than the kursi is one of the largest and the most magnificent creations of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And Allah says, His kursi encompasses all of this that you know around you. What we think is the world, His kursi is larger than that. وَسِعَ كُرْسِيُّهُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا. And He never becomes tired. يَؤُودُ يَأَدَى means to become tired. ثَقُلَ عَلَيْهِ وَلَا يَؤُودُهُ حِفْظُهُمَا. That He never becomes tired of taking care of the entire creation. Every single being is taken care of. The air that you breathe, the water that I drink, Allah has destined it for you. Allah knows it. كُلَّ يَوْمٍ هُوَ فِي شَأْنٍ. Every day Allah Azza wa Jal is taking care of every being. وَلَا يَؤُودُ حِفْظُهُمَا. All of these billions of beasts and creatures, Allah says, even that which crawls in the land, that which swims in the ocean, there is nothing except that Allah is giving its sustenance to it. Allah has everything in it. Right? And Ibn Abbas was asked once that, "Oh Ibn Abbas, how can Allah speak to all of mankind at the same time on Yawm al-Qiyamah?" That's what the Quran says, that Allah will speak to all of us at the same time. Ibn Abbas said, the way that He took care of them all at the same time in this world. The way that He took care of them all at the same time in this world, why can't He speak to them all at the same time? وَلَا يَؤُودُ حِفْظُهُمَا وَهُوَ الْعَلِيُّ الْعَظِيمُ. And these are two of the majestic names of Allah, the comprehensive names of Allah. The names of Allah are divided into at least 5 categories, and Al-Ali, Al-Azim, they both go in one category, which is basically the category of it's difficult to translate this, but basically the majestic, broad names of Allah. They have many meanings. It's not just a specific meaning such as Rahman, such as Ghafoor. These are specific meanings. Al-Ali and Al-Azim, they are broad meanings. They encompass many meanings. Al-Ali means the exalted. So Allah Azza wa Jal is exalted in His essence. He is above us. He is exalted in His might. He is exalted in His knowledge. Al-Ali, there is nothing greater than Allah. سَبِّحِ اسْمَ رَبِّكَ الْأَعْلَى. This is Al-A'la, the most grandiose. And Al-Azim means something similar for us in English. It's difficult to translate in the khutbah, the differences. Al-Azim again means the majestic and the great. Al-Azim, there is nothing that is greater than Allah Azza wa Jal. This one verse has more than 20 of Allah's names and attributes. And in fact, the whole verse from beginning to end is nothing other than the names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is because of this that this verse is the greatest verse in the Quran. I remind myself and all of you that we should be repeating and memorizing memorizing this verse and repeating it day and night, morning and evening, and after the end of every single salah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who enter Jannah بغير حساب ولا عذاب. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.